We're now going to discuss the 5 stones of survival. These are our 5 survival priorities. Now we arrive at these 5 priorities through the story of David and Goliath. This is noted in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verses 34 and 35. It tells us that there were 5 specific stones selected by David as he went down into the creek to face a survival situation, which was fighting a freaking giant. That is a survival situation if I've ever heard of one. So, he notes that he selected 5 smooth stones from a creek as he went to engage in this encounter. Now, it's noted that they're smooth because as the stream of life carries on, these stones were tumbled around and abraded one against the other, and we know that a smooth stone is one that will throw from a sling a bit more aerodynamically than one that would be jagged, rough, or lopsided. So that tells us as we go on through life, we should learn to abrade our skills or practice them, put in a lot of dirt time in each of these 5 areas so that when we pull it from our bag to use it in our time of need, they will hit effectively on the target that we're aiming them at. Now, think of this for a moment. We do not know if it will be our fire skills that save us in a survival situation. Maybe it's the shelter. Maybe it's our tricky water situation that we found. We had to dig in more of a desert environment to dig down to get to that water. We don't know what skill we're going to have to pull from our bag in our time of need. So it's best that we continually train in each of these skills to fully understand their usefulness. Our 5 priorities are safety. We must always be safe in a wilderness environment. Safety also covers all of our tool use. Tool maintenance, gear selection and usage. How do we keep ourselves safe? How do we stay hydrated? How do we avoid injury? All these are various types of safety skills that are vital. Unless we're safe, we have no business being out in the wilderness environment to begin with. Next, we have fire on our list. Fire, obviously, is another vital skill. It's going to enable us to warm, to cook our food, etc. Fire is a necessary skill, and it also enables us to make other tools. Water, obviously, would be next on the list. Without water, we can't go more than 3 days and function properly without an adequate supply of water. So water must be understood fully. How long do you really need to boil water to make it clean to drink? How do you boil water when you can't use a fire per se to do so? Could you use stones? Could you use the sun? Could you pasteurize? How do you filter it? How do you get chemicals out of it? All these are different types of questions that we must be able to answer when we're talking water purification. Shelter is our next priority. We must understand how to build a proper survival shelter. How to fight against the 5 mechanisms of heat loss. How do we shelter ourselves from the rain, the wind, the various other elements that we're going to encounter. And of course, food is our final priority. And food is always the last on the list because it is the longest thing that we can go without. We can easily function up to 3 weeks fairly effectively with a minimal intake of food. But within that 3 to 5 week barrier, we're going to start seeing a great reduction in our physical output, our mental capacity, etc. So learning to understand what qualifies as food in a wilderness environment is important. Also how to locate it, how to utilize resources to obtain it, and also how to prepare it. So food in and of itself is another huge skill set that must be fully understood. So these 5 survival priorities are what we refer to as our 5 stones of survival. These are the key to laying the foundation of proper survival skills training.